Okay, of course I have to ask you, how is Madoff doing?
He's doing okay. Under the circumstances, he's doing as well as one could expect being in prison for the rest of your life.
Well, what do you mean okay, though? As I read it, you said before that he suffers deeply right
Well, he
now.
does. He suffers. That's an emotional thing. How is he doing physically? Fine. Emotionally, he still deeply regrets what he did.
Okay, he's in good health, everything?
For a 71-year-old man, he's in pretty good health.
You visit him often?
Not too often, but I have seen him in prison.
Okay. And does he seem, though, at least, despite the emotional part of it, suffering deeply, I mean, does he seem at all in good spirits most of the time, or what?
Well, it's not easy. Obviously, he regrets deeply what he did. He misses his wife of 50 years, his children, his grandchildren. He recognizes he caused a great deal of suffering. So to that extent, he's not doing well. But physically, under the circumstances, he's doing okay.
His wife and children, do they visit him in prison?
I don't want to get into who visits him and who doesn't visit him and so forth.
Okay, but have you talked with his wife and children? I mean, how are they doing right now?
I have spoken to his family or members of his family, not all his members, and they're doing okay.
Okay. I remember during this time, Ira, as we were watching the developments and reading all about this case, once Bernie got that sentence of 150 years, he decided not to appeal. No explanation on that. Why?
Well, for the simple reason that as a 71-year-old man, even an appeal, if you reduce the sentence to 100 years or 50 years, it would have been a fruitless venture on our part. And he chose not to go through that process and suffer the publicity and the pain to his family and the pain to the victims. He accepted what he did. He knew the day he confessed to his sons and to the FBI. You know, he surrendered himself. He knew he was going to spend the rest of his life in jail. So appealing a 150-year sentence, which was a guideline sentence. I mean, it was a sentence that a judge could impose and not necessarily appealable, and he chose to accept it.
Right. You were looking for something more along the lines of 15, 20 years, is that right?
We were looking for 1 year, basically 1 year less than a life sentence.
Okay.
In terms of the statistics as to how long he would live and so forth.
In terms of the appeal and the case and the sentence, you think any of it unfair?
That the sentence was unfair?
Yeah.
It would have been, it's unfair is the wrong word. The sentence was reasonable. The sentence was reasonable under the guidelines and the magnitude of what he did and what he pleaded to. Any sentence that would have put him away for the rest of his life, whether it was 20 years or 150 years, would have been, in his view, a fair sentence.
Okay, Ira, all right, let's move on. Sure. I want to talk about, you have had a very long career. You've been in the U.S. Attorney's Office, you've been in the SEC, defending Bernie Madoff and the developments around that. What have you learned from this?
Well, I'll tell you what I learned. The death threats and the anti-Semitism was extraordinary. But the worst part of the process was the
extraordinary. Describe that to us. What do you mean? Give us an example.
An example, I had one email that said the person's deepest regret is that the entire Sorkin family did not die in the Nazi death camps. That was the tone of the emails in general. But I think the most disturbing factor was the emails from people who did not understand what defense lawyers do, the role we play in the criminal justice system, the role we play in defending the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. You know, our role is to defend people who are charged with doing bad things in order to protect the rights of people who do not do bad things. It's across the board. It's even. The rights apply to the Bernie Madoffs and the rights apply to people who do not do bad things. And we preserve the system by defending people who are perceived to be despicable, at the bottom of society, who are simply hated. And that's what we do.
But Ira, I mean, you've had a long, long career, but from now on, you're always going to be considered Bernie Madoff's defense attorney. Any regrets on that?
None. I would do it again.